Wednesday, June 3rd, and after today we only have one more lesson. So today we are talking about quadrilaterals, which are shapes with four sides, and we're going to do a little review before we go to number 6, 7, and 8. So for number 5, it says use a word bank to name each shape, being as specific as possible. So let's look at shape A. As you can see, it has these two triangle on the lines. That means that these lines are parallel to each other. And parallel lines, they never touch. So what shape has one set of parallel lines? That is it a parallelogram, trapezoid, or a rectangle, or a square? This is a trapezoid. And then we can cross that out. What is B? Think about what B is. Is that a parallelogram, a rectangle, a square, or a square? Some of you are thinking parallelogram. A parallelogram has two sets of parallel lines. As you can see, they marked one with an arrow on this side and this side. Then, guys, if there is another set of parallel lines, you just make the arrows twice. Okay? So that's parallelogram. For C, what shape is that? A rectangle or a square? A square, because a square has all equal sides, just like in a triangle. When we made dashes in between in the lines, that means that the sides are equal. Then in a rectangle, there are in a rectangle, there are 4 right angles, and also a square has 4 right angles. But what makes a square and a rectangle different? Think about that as a right rectangle. What makes a square and a rectangle different? The difference is that the top and the bottom lines are equal, and the side lines are equal because they are two different lengths. The top and the bottom is a different length than the sides are. So that's what makes a difference. In a square, all sides are equal, where in a rectangle, there are not equal sides. Now for number 6, it says explain the attribute. If you don't know what an attribute is, think about characteristics. So characteristics of my face is I have brown eyes, blonde hair, I have freckles on my face, and I'm tan. So those are characteristics of my face. Think about the characteristics of your face. They might be a way different than me, or you might have similar characteristics. When we talk about shapes, we're talking about that word characteristics, or another word for that is attribute. Try saying that to yourself or to people around you. Attribute. That makes a square a special rectangle. So explain the attribute that makes a square a special rectangle. So let's start by writing a sentence. A square is a special rectangle because each of its sides are the same lengths. So a square is a special rectangle because a square has all equal sides. For 7, it says explain the attribute that makes a rectangle. So look at the rectangle. What makes a rectangle a special parallelogram? Again, let's write a sentence. A rectangle is a special parallelogram because it has 4 right angles. So what makes a rectangle different from a parallelogram, guys, is that a rectangle has 4 right angles, where in a parallelogram, they have acute and acute and obtuse and obtuse. So in a parallelogram, 2 acute angles and 2 obtuse angles. And in a square, there's 4 right angles. For today's lesson and for tomorrow's lesson, you will need to know what a trapezoid is and what attribute it has. So a trapezoid has 1 set of parallel lines. A parallelogram has 2 sets of parallel lines. You can also remember that it has 2 acute and 2 obtuse, but the main thing is that it has 2 sets of parallel lines. So even if you want to write that, 2 sets of parallel lines, 1 set of parallel lines. In a square, you can say all sides are equal and has 4 right angles. And then in a rectangle, they have 2 sides that are equal. Opposite sides are equal. As you can see, this is opposite sides are equal. So I'll write that for you guys. Opposite sides are equal. And it has 4 right angles. We already wrote that. So these are notes that you should be taking with me. For our last problem of lesson 15, it says, explain the attribute that makes a parallelogram a special trapezoid. So what makes a parallelogram a special trapezoid? So think about it. What's the difference between a parallelogram and a trapezoid? Think about that. What's the difference? What's the difference between a parallelogram and a trapezoid? Hopefully, you're thinking this. A parallelogram is a special trapezoid because it has 2 sets of parallel sides. So the only difference, guys, between a parallelogram and a trapezoid is that a parallelogram has 2 sets of parallel lines, where a trapezoid has 1 set of parallel lines. So that is our lesson 15 for today. I hope everyone has a wonderful Wednesday, and I will see you tomorrow for our last lesson.